Hi everyone. Okay, so let's move on. Now we're going to begin creating the start menu. Okay, this the main menu that's going to come up before the crosshair, and it's going to be composed of a number of different widgets. But we'll build them in separate parts, and I'll explain why as we go along. And I'm going to start with creating the first widget that we'll need, and then I'll explain why we built them in certain ways and how. Okay, so we'll create a widget named background to begin with. That is the background of our start menu, and that's what is simply what it is. It's just a background. Okay, so we'll name it widget underscore background. Okay, and I'll open it. The resolution is already 1920 by 1080. That's good. Let me just pull this down. Okay, so we've got more room to work. Okay, great. So what I'll be doing here is just using this as our background, which is simply going to be an image. And we'll get an image, drag it in, and that's going to be the background image for our main canvas. So why is it going to create an image? Well, because there's going to be a side menu which will be animated, and that's going to be to the left. Because it's going to have also a picture in there, we need that on our background, and it's going to have other functions that you can press on top of the picture. So that's why we need the background image. And it's also going to be visible when we pause the game as well. So we need that there as a separate widget. So this gives us a bit more control as well when we do it this way. So what I'll do now is I'll center it with our screen with the anchor, put it in the same way we did before with the crosshair, get it right in the middle, set it to position 0 and align it by 0.5 and 0.5, and then we'll have it totally centered. Just a little bit more. Cool, nice. Okay, so I'll put an image here in my brush section, and I've got one here that I've already imported, UI background. Let's pull it in. Great. So that looks nice. Let's change it to size to content. So you notice that it had a certain size, right? So when I enabled size to content, it resized it. It resized the image to the proportion it needs to be. Now, in the case of the background, this image is okay. It fits correctly within the screen size, and it always, it's nice to always make it a little bit larger than the actual screen size. Anyway, let me just disable size to content. We can just type in 1920 1080, which is our image size. Okay, what happens when I press play? Let's have a look. So it's not appearing here, is it? So what we need to do is just make it slightly larger than the 1920 1080. Okay, just to make sure we don't have any empty spaces showing. Okay, so to avoid this, let's just make some adjustments here. So we can set it to 1980 by 1180. Okay. It's okay if it distorts just a little bit, not too much, of course. But you see what I'm doing here, just making it slightly bigger than our screen size. Okay, it was almost like leaving some bleed in there, as you might call it. Okay, so that's set up nicely. Okay, let's compile and save. So what do we need to do now? Well, what I need to do is add it to our scene. So I'll do the same thing as I did with the crosshair. To do that, we now need to go into the blueprint, don't we? So we need to create an actor blueprint to bring in this widget. So let's do that. Let's go to our content browser and I'll create a new blueprint, an actor blueprint. And I'll name this one BP underscore my menu. And let's open it up. Cool. Same idea as before. Use the event graph. I'll create a widget coming out from event begin play. Create widget. There we go. And just search for the widget that we've created. If you remember what it was called, widget background. And if you don't remember, then you can obviously go back to your content browser, but it's widget background. Or you could just check if it's in the other tab, just like I did. Now name this background reference. So back reference. So we've got our variable there, or our reference to it. So we created our widget, and now I need to add it to our scene. Do you remember how we did that with the crosshair? Exactly the same method here. So we need to add it to our viewport. So I'll do it using exactly the same process. I'll create a custom event first of all. And later on, you'll start to appreciate why we create these custom events, okay? Because it makes it a lot easier when creating the main blueprint. We'll call it add background. Okay, and I'll do the same thing as I did before with the crosshair widget. Drag out. Oops. Drag this first in. So we need to get that. And then we want to add to our viewports. Add, or type in viewports. Add to viewport. Cool. Okay, so then we can connect these two. And that's it. Done. So we can comment on these if you want to. These are the simple ways of putting things on screen from our widget. So let's call this add background. And this one here, because when I press play, the background will appear on screen. That's what that's going to be doing. So let's just keep things organized. Okay, there we go. So I'll just leave it this line of widgets as a reference. Okay. And here we want to put a sequence so we can decide which order things appear in. Okay. So below we can add different events. So I'll simply put here, add background event. There we go. So that's going to be the next stage in our sequence. From begin play, it's going to create the widget and then the background. And I need to add this my menu to the scene. So just pull that in here. It can be anywhere in the scene, doesn't matter. It's not going to be seen visually, is it? Okay, so that's our viewport and default scene route. I'll leave it out here next to the other one so that when I press play, there we go. So there's the background, right? But as you can see, I can't get out of the background, okay? I don't have a method or an option to click on anything else. So we'll be creating that later. Let's also create an event to remove the background when I want to remove it, okay? So using similar logic as before, I'll put here remove background. Oh, wrong place, custom event, add a custom event, and we need to name it remove background. Okay, and then I'll search for our reference again. Let's pull out from there, get, pull out and add remove from parent. Very similar that we did before. You're starting to understand now why we're doing these things. Let's comment this and call it remove background widget. Okay, so here it is. One to add and one to remove. But I won't activate it anywhere. Okay, so now we have the first part of our menu, or one of many parts, which is the background. We already created our actor blueprint to add things, and this actor will do all the routines of the main menu. Okay, and now we'll go on to doing the rest of our menu. Okay, now we'll do that in the next class.